So with that, you'll see the next item on our agenda is our keynote today. Our keynote is by someone who I know who's very near and dear to me, Dr. Henry Holstege. Dr. Henry Holstege is an emeritus professor from Calvin College, where he taught both gerontology and sociology. Dr. Holstege is internationally known as a speaker and an author on a wide range of topics related to aging and caregiving. And how many of you have heard Dr. Holstege before? If you have, I don't need to say anything else. He's a tremendous presenter. He's not only informative, but he's also entertaining and energetic, and he has a great message. I appreciate him so much in my own life as one of my key mentors in this field. And so with no further ado, I'm going to ask Dr. Holstege to come up, and we'll put a microphone on him. Here.
I have it on, Mike. Yeah, with an introduction like that, I'm going home. I don't want to proceed. Good to see all of you. Many of you are grandparents. We're going to talk about grandparents. I'm a grandparent, 18 grandchildren. How you doing? I have to say that one of the fears my wife and I have always had, when our children would go for a ride or on a trip, that they'd be in an accident and they'd get killed. Yeah, I know you do, Vernia. And then who would take care of the grandchildren? And the problem is, as you know, you can't pick and choose which ones you want to take care of. No. Oh, come on. Not all grandchildren are likable. You know, not all children are likable. Not all babies are beautiful. Some are ugly. You don't say that. Saying, that's an ugly baby. But part of the problem is that kid you don't like that much is suddenly one you have to take care of. And the major problem we are going to be dealing with is drug addiction, incarceration. It's one thing to have your adult children killed and you have their children, but whenever you have drug addiction and incarceration, there's multiple problems. So bear that in mind. I'd like you to take the white paper that says Basic Considerations in regard to grandparents raising grandchildren. Now, pardon me for speaking fast. I have half an hour, and I really want a lot of dialogue, but we have 4 papers. Just interrupt me anytime. Number 1, whether one is psychodynamically, behaviorally, phenomenologically, or interactionist in interpreting human behavior, there are systemic universals in regard to being a caregiving grandparent. Don't want to get too academic on you, but this is supposed to be for professionals. We could take any one of those theoretical orientations on counseling and spend a week on that. I don't want to do that. All that I want to say is, wherever you come in on a theoretical orientation, there are universals raising grandchildren. One is, and never forget it and give the advice, it's very important, what legal powers do grandparents have to have these grandchildren? Are the children adopted? Are they in legal custody? Now, if they are not, you know the adult children can come anytime and take the children out. And I've seen so much pain and hurt on this. A child who's a drug addict may disappear for 2 years, come back and take the kid out, and the grandparents are hysterical. They say they mayn't do that. Tell it to the judge, and the judge is going to say, what legal custody do you have? You don't have any. And there's going to be tremendous pain. Always clarify, if there's a caregiving grandparent, what are your legal ramifications? In addition, the truth is, as we get older, we get fatigued. Some grandparents are rather young, some are older. We've had grandparents even up into the 90s in the Grand Rapids group who took care of a great-grandchild. And I'd have to confess, at my age, I like the grandchildren to come over for 2 hours. And then if I think they're going to be there 24 hours, and then you have to go to all the volleyball games, track events, baseball games, then the teachers say you have to help them with their schoolwork. how much energy does one have? You have to bear that in mind. In addition to that, as we increase in age, there's going to be an increased probability of chronic illness, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, respiratory disease. That all impacts on child rearing. You know that. You get tired, you get fatigued, you get irritable, and the kids give you a hassle, and you get angry. And the next day, you'll be older yet. And then there's always the problem of the in-laws. Where do they come in? Never forget the woman who, tremendous, I think, grandmother, had no legal right to have the grandchild. Absolutely convinced the in-laws were close to abusive, if not abusive. What right then does she have? We'll get into that a little later. It gets very complicated. Who has a right? Who has the control? How do you know? How much energy do you have? Secondly, on that paper, we also have to deal with the reality of the bell-shaped statistical curve. Never forget that. I don't care who you are as a counselor or a parent, grandparent, you're not going to always be successful. You're going to fail at times. What does that mean to you? We're going to have a problem that you were the kind of grandparent you should be and the kid becomes an addict. I'm going to get into that a little later. But I want to point out, never forget that bell-shaped distribution curve. On the end, there are some people who really mess up. On the other end are heroic examples of success. I'll give you an illustration of that to give you some hope. I was familiar with a couple who were marginally blue collar, marginally. They were living just above the poverty line, frankly, not very bright. They had one child who wasn't as bright as they were. Hardly got through high school. I couldn't see how he could do it. Married a woman who dropped out, who wasn't even marginal. They had one child, so there's one grandchild, right? Really multiple dysfunctional home. Except for one thing. That grandchild was brilliant with mathematics. Who knows why? If you'd say to him, how much is 240 times 230? How you doing? You got it? 5,500 and 200, right. He went into high school and was an amazing math student. And he was an affable kid. He wasn't athletic, but the athletes liked him. He helped them in their schoolwork. And I'm convinced the school saved his life. The physics instructor allowed him in the lab all the time to help him. His SAT scores were, he went on to the Air Force Academy. When I heard that, I couldn't believe it. How can that possibly be? Now, he graduated, and as far as I know, and I make no judgments here, he's hardly ever been home. Without going into why I can understand that. I'll never find out I'm too old. If the guy ever becomes a general and anybody writes his life story, there's a life story there to be written. Now, having said that, I could say to you, see, if you really try, what will happen? Your grandkid will end up in one of the academies. That's a lie. You could be the best parent anybody could ever be, and your kid ends up being a drug addict, and they're off on the street, and you're going to have a lot of guilt, and much of that might be unrealistic guilt. Never forget this. What degree of success can you live with? Now, life isn't fair. Some people seemingly live with success and shouldn't have it, and others should have it and don't have it. That's life. 3, it is not advisable to give medications just because of behavioral problems, and conversely, it is not advisable to withhold medications just because of ideological considerations. Grandparents will be multiple pill users. I'll guarantee it. Help. All kinds of problems here. Only God knows at what point that hyperactive kid should really get Ritalin. Should you never use it? Where are you coming from? Of course it should be used. Should you use it for any naughty kid? Of course not. How do you make that judgment? Come on, everybody in this room knows that bipolar kid needs meds. Don't kid yourself. You may be a cognitive therapist, and I'll support you up to a point, but if you want to be a cognitive therapist for someone severely bipolar, I don't know what you read. That kid needs meds, and there's hope for him if then he takes his meds as prescribed. And the problem is almost surely the grandparents are going to be taking medication, and if they have pain, there's going to be OxyContin, and at that point the kid knows he can sell it out in the street. It becomes a real problem. Watch the use or misuse of pills. One really needs wisdom here, and it's tough. Clarify what support, number 4, is available in the community and the educational system, the courts, the churches. We'll get into that later. What financial support is available for grandparents taking care of grandchildren? They should have financial support. I'm getting older and mellow. I don't get angry that much anymore. That's life. But people need help. We can take money and give it to business, $1 billion, and in the state we don't have money for the correction system that could help a kid or you as a grandparent that needs financial assistance. But there are agencies that can give help if you know what they are, and you have to tell the grandparents, have a list. I have a huge list in Kent County, but it doesn't help you outside of Kent County. Okay, 5, have your blood pressure rise. Yeah, I see the trouble coming, right. But I'm an old guy, so what are you going to do? Shoot me? Say, hey, I was going to die next week anyway. So one frequently will be dealing with the fringe of the school population. That's a true assertion. The rejects, in quotation marks, I don't want them rejected. That's the way the kids see them. The druggies, they're out there. There's not a school system in this country that doesn't have druggies. The angry, yeah, your mother's a drug addict, your dad's an alcoholic, they beat you half to death, you're living with grandparents you do at times get along with, and at other times you don't, you're angry. Why shouldn't the kid be angry? Kid has a right to be angry. He meets other kids who are angry, and then, thank God, he meets a good counselor in the school system who lets him go through a catharsis. That's good if we can get to him. I know a lot of those kids who won't see a counselor for anything. You have to almost beat them with a baseball bat. The unstable. Now, we can say that normal distribution curve in this room, in any school, we're going to have a distribution of very stable people. That's not a character thing. It's a biochemical thing, a genetic thing. Some of you have anxiety attacks. Doesn't make you a bad person or a good person. Almost surely it's in your genes. Some of you have anxiety attacks because you have a lot to have anxiety about. Don't forget that kid there in that class is tested constantly. He gets tests on all of his subjects, tries out for sports, he's tested, tries out for band. What chair are you, Ralph? There are 10 trombonists. 10. First chair. Signals are being sent all the time. And the depressed. You can simply float through the population. There's a fairly steady state percentage of people who are going to be depressed, and that kid needs a lot of help, and if not, he's going to be in a lot of trouble because he's going to use drugs to get him out of the depression. Why do you think some people smoke marijuana? Because it gives you a buzz on, you feel good. Some of you are addicts. You know it's tough to break. Why do people smoke cigarettes? Everybody in this room knows anybody who smokes cigarettes, think, how can they do that? Because they're addicts, that's why. They know the data. That kid who's 16 who's smoking, he's got other problems and he needs a lot of help. Subject 6, subjectivity and objectivity are not always coordinated. Whose reality is to prevail? Now, for everybody in this room, I'd almost beg you, be careful here. I see it all the time, and I saw it in college. How would you like your kid to be a doctor? How about an attorney? How about an engineer? How about a truck driver? You know, for some kids, that's a great achievement. Can we really act that way and live that way? And the grandmother says to me, I want my daughter to be a doctor. You find out she's a junior in high school and hardly has ever taken any math, has no physics, no chemistry. I can guarantee you one thing. When I get her in college, I look at her record and I say, what are you going to be? And she says, I'm pre-med. I try to be kind. She'll be back in a month. She's no longer pre-med. If you're going to be pre-med, you take every tough science course in high school you possibly can, and if you're not getting A's, think of something else. Don't blame me. You want to be an attorney, the law school exam is going to weed you out if you don't achieve at the highest levels. And what I mean by subjectivity and objectivity is, for every counselor, for every educator, for every grandparent, can you make an adequate assessment of where your child or grandchild is at? That's why I said, to be a truck driver is a worthy goal. And we need a lot of truck drivers today. And it pays well. A good mechanic in a large city for automotives makes about $100,000 a year. I am convinced, and we don't have time to argue this, we need to have the old vocational emphasis brought back to school, labeled at a higher level, and give these kids a chance to make it in Europe. If you don't go to college, you go to a certification program. And when you get that certification, you go into a good paying job. We don't do that. We try to push kids into college. They can't make it. They get depressed. They turn to marijuana. They're out on the street. And now we have to try to grab them. We don't have the money for the courts to treat them adequately. Why college? Why graduation? Why what? Not everybody should go to college. And I don't say that as an elitist who teach in a college. I say that as a grandparent of some grandchildren who shouldn't go to college. But I want them skilled. Is one dealing with a student problem or a familial generational problem? Frequently it's a generational problem. You're going to have a tough time helping that kid without understanding the family he comes from and the problems he faces at home. We'll get into that later. How does one measure success? So, page 2. We deal with grandparents with a multiplicity of problems. You can find page 2. Everybody have that? We try to connect them, the grandparents, with the appropriate agencies that can give them assistance frequently. The best assistance can be described by persons from the appropriate agency. Hence, over the last several years, we have had speakers such as judges. Judges we've had have done a beautiful job, and the reason for that is they indicate what the legal requirements are for adoption, for legal custody, but then, very importantly, never forget for your grandparents. I've seen them cry. I've seen them almost break down. When you go to court, it's not your attitude. When you go to court, it's what are the facts. Have you dated that instance? Do you have a witness for that statement? The fact you say something is not going to impress the judge unless you can back it up with evidence. And I'm amazed how many people don't understand that, saying, I told the judge, those in-laws are nothing but a problem. They don't care for the kid adequately. And the in-laws say to your surprise, we love the child, we give her loving care. And the judge says, do you have any evidence? Stress to the grandparents, write down, keep a diary, date the instance. They're not going to accept your word. You need evidence. Police officers. I want to tell you, I'll admit openly, I don't think I'm qualified to take care of grandchildren over any period of time because, as a police officer points out, and they scared me to death, do you know what's on that internet? When he told me, I thought, I wouldn't allow a computer in my house. I would, of course, they need it to do their research. Facebook, do the kids really know I can follow them for the rest of their life? You know that, they're immature, their brains aren't mature. Later they're going to apply for a job and they bring up the Facebook and they say, well, nice talking to you, we may call you later. There are villains out there trying to make a connection. I'm amazed how often we see it on television. some 59-year-old guy has a relationship with a 13-year-old girl, and you think, where were her parents? That's unfair. And then I think, what if I'm taking, where are the grandparents? And then there's pornography. It shocks me. What does it do to a 12-year-old kid? Oh, you ought to see this. What are you looking at? Nothing. Why? It's a tough world out there, and the police officer says, understand, be aware of the danger. And the police officer can talk about gangs. He can indicate where they are, who they are, what they're called, what the signatures are on the buildings. And the police officer will tell you who they can pick up when and why. What does a curfew mean? Grandparents should know that. Social Security representatives. You may say, Holstege, why do you have that down? The reason we have it down is there are survival benefits if the mother or father are deceased. I've met grandparents who didn't quite understand how that works. They get Social Security survival benefits until they're 18 or 19 if they are in college. And then there are SS payments and disability payments. Social Security representatives can point it out. School administrators. I think grandparents have to understand what the policy of the schools are. They went to school 30, 40, 20 years ago. The policies have changed, and they're upset. I've talked to grandparents filled with rage, so have you, Vernita, who think there isn't adequate discipline in the schools. In fact, she told me that too, among other people. But what does it mean for a kid who's 17, in contrast to us? When we went to school, you walked the hallways in silence.
Yes, right.
If not, a hand would grab you saying, Holstege, come to my office. Oh, Lord, be with me. Here we go again. Today, you think, isn't anybody in control? And then you hear what they say in the classrooms, and the school administrators should try to explain what's happening so you understand. Numerous social workers representing simply many different agencies, child welfare, protective agencies. And people have to, we're going to run out of time. I'll give you a little instance. Remember, my church has rental property, kept it up really well, but a family took over, one grandmother, 5 children. God be with her. Totally ruined it. Filled with mice and cockroaches. He cleaned it up. He so far has murdered 62 mice. 400 cockroaches, but has 1,200,000 to go yet, but hopes to get it done. He went to Protective Services and said, you ought to see this house. What do you think they said? I'm not going to go into that. Well, there really isn't a law, you know, how many cockroaches are permissible, 1 million or 400,000? Then he found out later the bedrooms for the kids had outside locks on them. Yeah, now we got a problem, I think, but he had to convince them, but call Protective Services and have them explain why or why they do not take action. We've had successful adults who raise successful grandchildren, which is an inspiration for many grandparents. We had a professional football player coach come, really excited about his grandparents. We had grandparents who raised successful grandchildren, representatives from the state discussing food stamps, Medicaid, child support. You ought to bring some of your representatives in and tell them we aren't getting enough support for the work that we do trying to raise grandchildren. We need more money. We need more services. Now, having said all of that, I just on the bottom ignore it. We found that for grandparents, attendance depended a lot on the weather, sometimes even on churches. If they all go to 1 or 2 churches of a denomination, they have a conference somewhere, they don't come. Could you turn to the page, grandparents as primary caregivers of grandchildren? If you see that, demographic changes, Mike already mentioned that. About 7% of grandchildren right now are living with their grandparents. That is increasing. That will certainly increase in the next few years to 10%. So every school district, every social worker has to be aware this is going to increase. The reasons for the change are listed. The major change is drug addiction. Kid gets to be a drug addict, methamphetamines, crank, cocaine, heroin. They're going to walk away. Then who takes care of the child? It's going to be the grandparent. Emotional instability of the adult child. The child is schizophrenic. The child is a major bipolar. They're not taking their drugs. Jailing. The child was taught producing methamphetamines. The grandchild therefore has no home. The parent is in jail. The grandparent takes over. Unemployment, death of their adult child, bad decisions, but you know that. The reasons cited for the above demographic change have a tremendous impact on the interaction between grandparents and grandchildren, and thereby an impact on the interaction of the grandchildren and their behavior, their peer group, and school achievement. As I said before, it's one thing if the parents are in jail for drug usage. That means that the grandparents are going to have some of the, if you skip down a little bit, following reasons. Skip Judith Harris for just a minute. Impact on grandparents. We over-romanticize raising children and raising grandchildren. Be neither a Cassandra nor a Pollyanna. Don't be unduly depressed. Don't be unduly optimistic. Can guarantee you the research is consistent. Given some of the problems I mentioned above, many grandparents are going to have guilt, realistic and unrealistic. If your child is a drug addict, everybody thinks, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? If your child is in jail, you think, I missed something. And it might be true. There is a reason for guilt. But the behavior of a child by itself ought not thereby to produce guilt. Above that book, Judith Harris, The Nurture Assumption in her research, she received the prize from the Psychological Association as the best psychological book of the year some years ago. And she argues very strongly, overwhelmingly, American parents think they are the sole determinant of their child's behavior or grandchild's behavior, and it isn't true for two reasons. By the age of 12, the peer group starts taking over. Their values are very powerful, and that kid wants to be accepted, and his self-image is dependent on the peer group. And here we get into an argument, and we don't have time. The other reason is the genetic heritage the child has. Look, we're born with a propensity toward depression, anxiety, bipolar, and I think addiction. It isn't your fault, else. You did the best you could do. But given genetics, there's a high probability of risk here. Anxiety. You know, that grandparent's going to have a lot of anxiety. I don't know about you, but when my children are on vacation, I take care of the grandchildren. I have a lot of anxiety. What if something happens? I'd have to confess proportionately, totally differently. I have that when I have one of their dogs. What if the dog's killed while they're gone? I don't want to take care of the dog. Now it's a little child, and you look around, and your heart sinks. Where is he? I even had that at Meyer Garden. I took 3 little grandchildren down there, and one was missing. Oh, my goodness, some villain, some fiend took him. I found him happy as could be, whistling down the line. At which point I wanted to pick him up by his ears and shake him. But then he would be a mass killer. I couldn't do that. You know that, and I know that. Financial struggles, almost all grandparents are going to have financial struggles. We all do, and you're going to have your grandchild go to college. Well, I wish you well. Have you checked since you've been there what the tuition for college is? Who's going to pay that? How is the grandchild going to pay that? Now you're going to have guilt because you won't give enough money for the child to go to college. That's your fault. You should have earned more. You retired too early. That's your problem. You didn't care, did you? I'll fill you all with guilt before you get out of here. Depression, hey, it's as common as a cold. We get melancholy, we get depressed, and now you're struggling, you're tired, you're fatigued, your grandchild got in trouble and the principal, the counselor called you to come to school. And anger, all of this produces some anger, and to that extent often physical deterioration. Anger, depression, anxiety leads to physical deterioration. I want to skip, I talked legal ambiguity. I'm about done. I just want to mention a few things on the following page. Children do not have fully developed brains until they are in their 20s. You see that? Well, don't forget that. There are many kids, we even have a presidential candidate now who said he did something at 18 he never would have done because now he has a mature brain. True or not, I don't know, but that's what he claims, and that may be true. Now, children need 5 times as much love demonstrated by word, touch, and deed as criticisms. I think the research on that is clear. You have to discipline a kid, but do you put your arm around the kid and say to the kid, I love you, I care about you? Do you really praise the kid because they got good grades, they made the athletic teams? That's what kids need. The family is not a democracy, you know that, I know that. That creates a lot of stress. I didn't intend to vote on your curfew. It's 12 o'clock. Dad, let's vote. We're all around the table. No, I'm in charge with your mother. I talked to her, 12 o'clock. Dad, I want to talk about what we just did, 12 o'clock. They think it's a democracy. Children have tremendous mood swings, don't forget that. Always struck me in 6th grade, a daughter would come home, nobody liked her. Terrible things. Oh, here we go. The next day, I'd say, how are things going? Fine, why? Fine, why? What did you just complain? Oh, that was no problem at all. They were in the depths of despair. What is age-appropriate behavior? God be with you. I don't know at this point in my life what it is for a 17-year-old. There always will be stress. All grandparents have a problem over what is considered adequate discipline. Burnout will be a problem. Well, we're out of time, and I want a discussion and criticism, and I'm not going to just, my time's up, but if you have criticisms or questions, we're going to leave some time.
Okay. How was lunch, everyone? I don't know about you. That was filling, wasn't it? So I can just see people dozing off now for the next section, so we'll try to keep it lively. What I'm going to ask, what we're going to do is we're going to do a panel for the next hour. Now, we have so many grandparents and professionals here who represent support groups. I'm not going to put you all at the front at one time. What I think makes a lot of sense, we just saw a really good example of a support group meeting, the support group, and that's what it was meant to be, as an example of what can happen in a support group. Now, many support groups have an added dimension of some kind of educational program as a piece of it, and I'm sure that most of your groups represent that as well. What I think I'll do is start with the grandparents who are here, who were asked to be on the panel. If you could come up and take a seat here. We'll start with the grandparents, and then you can kind of tell your story, and then we'll save time for the professionals who were asked to be on the panel next. Okay? So if the grandparents would just take seats in the middle so people can see you. Well, you know, I know that many of the facilitators are also grandparents, but I'll have you be on the facilitator panel, okay? Because that way we'll have enough chairs up here. Otherwise, everyone will be on this side of the room, looking at empty tables. So what I'm thinking is, I sent out to several people some sample questions. But for those of you who are grandparents, if you didn't see it, I'll just give you a piece of paper to look at. I'm going to need this for the professionals too. The grandparent questions are down below. You don't have to answer all of these questions. We won't have time probably for that. But if you could just address some of these issues to the group. What I'm going to ask you to do is introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your grandparenting situation. And then I put several questions down about your participation in an educational support group and how it benefits you. And if you could answer a few of those questions, that would be great. I'm looking at trying to save about 20 minutes for this portion of the program, and then we'll transition to the professionals. Okay, so that's about 5 minutes each. So who wants to start? Take the pressure off them. So we're gonna let Rich go first. And Rich, if you'd start by introducing yourself and a little bit about your situation.
Well, I'm Rich Fitch. I live in Reed City, Michigan, about 75 miles from here. I retired from teaching elementary school 12 years ago. I judge horse shows, and I'm now volunteering at our elementary school in the special ed room a couple mornings a week to just see how things go there. Both of my children that I'm raising are in special ed part of the day and regular ed the rest of the day. The special ed programs has been a godsend to both of them because they were both struggling. They had lots of stuff that they were trying to learn that, well, how can you teach about that when they can't even read 5 words on the whole page? So we've got a lot of success with both of the kids in the special ed program. And so I volunteer there, and I'm also volunteering as the child volunteer protection advocate for the ASO soccer program. So I'm not getting very much money for any of these volunteer jobs. At least a horse show judging is bringing in some funds. We adopted several kids back when my wife and I first got married. She had a son, I had a son, then we had a daughter, and then we adopted 3 more. The first one we adopted was a piece of cake. She fit right into the family. She came in perfect. Then we decided maybe we ought to try this again. The caseworker said, well, I have a family that needs to be adopted. Well, by the time we got to the family, only 2 of them were left. The third one, the middle child, was adopted out because she was the prettiest, I think. And so we got Carrie and Zach. Carrie was 7, Zach was 2 when we got them. Well, Carrie, first time we met her, she shoplifted. We should have known that was going to be an uphill battle, and it has been. She's now in Missaukee County Jail this week. Last week she was in, she's in Roscommon this week. Last week she was in Missaukee County Jail and has been there for several weeks, months. She's supposed to get out in August. We have her 2 older ones that we took when they were still with her. Ryan was a year and 4 months. Aaliyah was 5 months, and we went to their apartment and said, we're taking these children to our house because Carrie was sleeping on the couch, totally drunk. We couldn't even wake her up. So we just took them and then left a note for her that we've taken them. Since then, we have legal custody of both. We're thinking of adopting, but the one lawyer we went to mentioned it would be $4,000 retainer fee, and we just said, thank you very much for your advice. If we do adopt, we're going to only adopt Aaliyah because Ryan is getting SSI disability, and from what we've understood, if we adopt him, we lose that money. And so it really comes down to the dollars, and that's a shame. Both kids are just fantastic little people, but like the video said, I get tired. And my wife has some health problems, so she definitely gets tired. She's tired when she gets up in the morning. So it's been kind of a struggle, but they'll be with us forever. And the girl who's in jail, she has 2 other children. They are in foster care because we just couldn't take any more. So we'll see how that goes for them. Was I supposed to answer questions now or just?
That's good. It sounds like maybe one thing, Rich, in terms of the benefits of being a part of the group you're a part of.
Oh, fantastic. First time we went, we thought we were the only people struggling in this world. And we got there, and there was one great-grandmother raising her grandson. There was another couple who had 2 grandsons from 2 different siblings that they were raising. It's just been a total peaceful situation. And when we say to the kids, hey, we've got grandparents this week, great because they get to go with us. We have pizza, and then they go and watch a movie or play a game with the other kids, and we go and do our talking. And it's just a big benefit to all of the family to be there knowing that we're going to have a hot meal and a lot of good talk and good learning experiences. Thanks.
My name is Judy Conway, and I'm from Ludington, Mason County, and I've had my grandsons, my two little grandsons, they're 12 and 14 now, they're not so little, but I've had them on and off since birth. My daughter is a prostitute and a druggie. My oldest grandson, Christopher, was addicted when he was born, so he went through withdrawals and had seizures and threw up and had diarrhea, and his mother said, I don't want this kid, and the state said she can't have this kid, so we were going to adopt him, but my husband died in the process, and the state of California said, no, I can't go through with adoption, but I could have legal custody, so that's what I did. And then she took off and was gone for a while and came back, and she's pregnant again, and Justice Kyle came. But Justice was blessed. His mother did not do drugs. I think she drank, but we're not sure how much, but not much. So he's not affected as bad as his brother. But he does have some trauma issues that we just now are realizing because they're coming up. And Jan and I and a couple other ladies went to the Make Fat convention, and we heard Dr. Henry talk, and I'm like, oh yeah, I understand now, because he talks about trauma and he talks about those kids and what happens to those kids when they're little. And I never even, it didn't dawn on me. Justice Kyle is just ODD. He doesn't want to listen. He doesn't want to do these things. It's not that he doesn't want to. He can't. And so we're dealing with that. In the grandparents group, when I got my grandsons, the last time I got them, I had come to Michigan. My sister lives in Ludington. I was living in Houston, Texas. She had to have a bone marrow transplant for cancer, and I was a match. So I came up here and made a life for myself all by myself, with my sister, and we were enjoying life. I met a man online, and he came to Michigan and loved it, and we got together, and we were going to get married, and I got a phone call in the middle of the night. Again, the police department in Houston, Texas had arrested my daughter for having sex with a minor, having weapons in the house, and drug paraphernalia. So again, she goes to jail. This time she's looking at prison time. And they said, what do you want me to do with these two boys? And I said, you keep them at the police department. My oldest daughter will be there within the hour, and they will be in Michigan within 5 hours. And they were. They came on the airplane all by themselves. A friend of mine had introduced me to Lois Carr, who was a part of the grandparents group. And at that time, Miss June McMahon was our mentor, and she came to the house, and she helped me in every way you can imagine. They came with two pair of jeans, 2 shirts, a sweatshirt, and a video game. And that's what they came with, and we had absolutely nothing. So the grandparents group helped us get legal custody through the court system, helped us through the mire of paperwork that we had to go through, get into CMH, which is community mental health for the boys, the school system, and all of the great fun that we've had. And my poor husband at the time, we were newly married, and his mother came with him because she is not able to take care of herself. So we not only had grandchildren, but we had the great-grandmother too. So we had a lot of fun. But without the grandparents group, I don't think I could have kept my sanity because I could go there and laugh about the stuff that was going on, which is not funny. Most of you know, most of it is horrific. And to think that these two little boys have lived through all of that, and then when people don't want them to be affected by that. They want them to be normal. They want them to fit in. They don't fit in. My grandsons don't fit in. My oldest grandson is 3.5 years behind developmentally. How do you fit that into being self-supporting by the time he's 18? Never. It's not going to happen. So those are the issues that we deal with, and those are the things that is going on. And if we could have more support through our legislation, we helped with the bill that got passed and went into appropriations and disappeared. So, those are the things that we are working on today. So hopefully, if we could get enough grandparents together, we don't count as a single group, but if those groups could form a larger group, we could have a mighty, mighty tool to work with the legislation. And that's what we're working on.
Thank you. Again, my name is Vernita Perry, and I am a grandmother and a great-grandmother. When I first started with the grandparent support group, I actually did it to help a friend recruit people. I know a lot of people, and I'm usually pretty good about getting people together and getting them to work. And we did. At that time, it was a friend of ours, Commissioner Lumpkins, before he became commissioner, before Mr. Gross came in with Doc. We got them together, got these people there, and we were just going to help him get it started. And it was 3 ladies from my church, Gloria Jones and Evelyn Whitfield. Little did we know, the 3 of us individually, how much we would personally need the support of the grandparent. I'd sit there and listen to them and listen to Doc. Well, these ladies really have problems. And we had a few men at that time, too. Things started changing in our lives. I suddenly became a grandparent. Wasn't expecting that. And my daughter was a sophomore at Aquinas that had a full ride, all the good stuff, everything was going well. Same thing happened with the other 2 friends. Anyway, it became reality to us, so we were paying more and more attention to what was happening with parents because we really needed each other. And long before, and I just love Hillary, reading her books, before she coined the phrase that it took a village to raise a child, African American families, this is the only way we could do it. We had to survive. Peggy and I was just saying, our kids get so attracted to people that we don't know. And not to sound snobbish or anything, but there are some families I didn't want my children or grandchildren to be bothered with. And I still don't. But because we did have value, we weren't perfect, but we knew poverty. My grandparents and grandparents migrated here from the South, just as with Mr. Gross and everything. But we saw people that worked. They worked hard. They were uneducated, but they learned skills. As Doc was saying, everybody's not college material. So our values that you took care of families, so whatever happened, you just have to get together and take care of them. And we did. And we started having problems, all of us individually, with our children and their friends. And one of the signs of trouble is when all of a sudden there are friends that you don't know. You ask, and who is your family? What church do you attend? And they start looking at you real crazy, And I said, trouble. My experience having retired from the Department of Corrections, my passion was a great love for children, and I guess that's why I fostered so many years. But had it not been for the group of men and women, and truly I missed some of them, and listening to some of your stories, I started saying, I got to get on the phone and call a friend of mine out in Jenison and find out how she's doing with her custody hearing. But we became a family. We shared. We talked not only on the second Tuesday when we met as a support group, but we talked with each other. We shared many things. And little did Doc and Daniel and now Mrs. Gross that works with us, little do you know how important the little gifts you gave to many of the grandparents. Because I was fortunate, I had a good retirement with the state. I was telling Doc my grandson is taking all of that and I need a job. But sometimes just getting the little gifts, the dish detergent, the little personal items, and at Christmas, Mike somehow always finds someone with a heart to just encourage grandparents, because many times we sacrifice a lot. And many of the parents are really under the poverty level, and it is hard. So the little things that you do is really important, and we appreciate it. Now, if it wasn't for the fact that some of us between the meetings talked with each other and found out the avenues to get help, it probably would have seen some of us on the 6 o'clock news, and it wouldn't have been very nice, you know. But we were able to do that, and that's so important. And it's nice to know that we're not the only one going through this. I'm not going to feel guilty. Sometimes we're disappointed because we have expectations, and I think that's okay. We should want to have expectations of our families and grandchildren. But if it wasn't for our group, everybody has been so supportive. And many times they will say something to one of us that maybe they're embarrassed to say. And I said, listen, Doc, you can talk to Doc, you can talk to Daniel, you can talk to Mrs. Gross. And they will come out. I said, just call them up, or at the meeting, maybe one of us will bring it up, and then they won't know it's directed at you. And it's just fabulous, because a lot of us can't afford psychiatrists. We're not on medication, but we do, and we know that it's a place where that we can't outwardly talk about our faith, but we do with each other, and we pray for each other. And we call, and those that email will say, listen, I heard you, I feel your pain. I'm going to someone higher than us to help with each other. But my concern is that there will be monies available so this can be an ongoing thing. We need it. I don't know how we could do it, but 102 years ago when I was a kid, we had what they had in Grand Rapids called the Methodist Community House. And to this day, I will never, ever forget those people. They were from the Methodist Church. I was not Methodist at that time, but they were Mr. and Mrs. Newhall. I don't know if any of you knew that name around here, but it was an open building that you could come in. We were not key latch kids. We left the doors open. So while our parents worked, the community house allowed a refuge. You could go in there, games that we were too poor to have. I mean, simple puzzles that we were too poor to have. We had them there. Books that we didn't have, we had them there. But you always had to learn a Bible verse from Mr. and Mrs. Newhall. And they had treats for us, even treats that was not affordable. I don't know how we could do it, but we need something to help grandparents be able to just keep going, because the world that we're in now, it takes all of us to help each other. If it's not personally, financially, whatever, we have to lift each other up. I see Mike looking at the clock. I'm going to give this over. But I am so grateful. Little did I know how much I would benefit from it. And I try always to, to encourage others to come as well.
Hello, I'm Carmen Shadowski from Ionia County. I've had he's my son now. We adopted him in 2009, but we've had him since he was 1 year and 4 months old. But when he was between 6 and 9 months old, he had failure to thrive. And so now we work with reactive attachment disorder, He's got Russell Silver syndrome, ADHD, ODD, really bad behavioral problems. He's got genetic problems. He's got a growth problem. They would like him to do the shots for the growth. The group that we have, I have been going to for ever since we've had Logan for 12 years. He's 12 years old now. And I really got a lot of help. We all communicate really good. If we have a problem, we talk about it. It's just an amazing group. And we keep trying to get more and more grandparents to come to our group. And Rona Shane is ahead of it, and she sends out flyers every month to remind us that we're going to have the group, what we're going to talk about, and everything. But I wouldn't be able to do it unless I would have had the group. Thank you all.
Mike's office calls us.
We got to keep them on their toes. So. All right, any questions for the grandparents before we let them go? Okay, let's recognize them. It's not easy to get up here and share your story. Thank you very much. So now we need to transition all of those who are support group leaders. Come on up, take a chair, support group leaders. Come on, support group leaders, come on up. All right, now, some of you have been emailed a list of questions. There are 11. There's no way we're going to be able to cover them all. But what I really want you to do is each introduce yourself, what county you serve, tell us a little bit about the structure of your particular grandparent group, and then address any of the questions that you want to that are on the sheet. Okay? So I think Mandy hasn't seen this, so I think I'll start on this end. You've seen the information, or Chris hasn't? Then we'll start. Carol has, right? So we'll let Carol start and then Chris.
My name is Carol Burba, and I'm from Lake County, and our agency, Family Healthcare, has grandparents raising grandchildren. That's what we call it, our group. I've been working with them for 7 years, and when I first started, I was a little taken back because I thought, oh boy, these kids. There's a lot of problems going on there. And my part of it at the beginning was to strictly, when they come in, to take the kids and occupy them. I'm a former preschool teacher, school teacher, and so I started playing with these kids once a month and working with them, and grew to love them a whole lot. They're a real special bunch. We have our meetings once a month, as I said. I call the grandparents the day before to remind them. We have another person who works with them. His name is Ron, and he's a grandparent himself, raising grandchildren, and a master social worker. He's in there a lot with the grandparents. And what else do? We try to do an outing every summer. At Christmas time, depending on funding, AAA has been very generous. We're able to have a Christmas party, and Santa comes for all the kids. I know I'm like kid-driven here. As far as the grandparents are concerned, I know that they look forward to this time very much. One of our grandparents, our great-grandmother raising her great-grandson, came one time for a AAA discussion, and the little boy shared, he was 11 years old at the time, he said, I love going to grandparents group because I know I'm normal now. And I mean, this little boy had, because everyone at school talks about mom and dad, and it was, he's being raised by great-grandma all by herself. And I mean, just to see the smile on his face, I'm normal. We try to bring in interesting speakers for the grandparents. We ask them all the time, well, who do you want to hear from? What do you need to know? We've had DHS come in, social workers, educators. We also try to make sure that, being from a healthcare organization that's sponsoring the group. We all try to make sure that we meet healthcare needs. We also integrate in the schools around where we are. We have teen health centers or adolescent health centers, and so we try to integrate that. The kids go to the health centers a lot within the schools. Yes, we provide childcare. You're looking at her. I'm the person who scours the county and tries to find the grandparents and get new members. If I get a lead, I'm on the phone or showing up at their house. And I've heard a lot of stories, and I know that there's a lot of compassionate people out there who are doing this. Health issues for our grandparents. We have one grandmother who's constantly having surgery, and her biggest fear is that she's not going to be around to see her grandchildren graduate. And I know that that's a fear of a lot of the grandparents in our group. And I don't know. I've been rambling, so now I'm going to pass the microphone. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris Wood, and I also work at Family Health Care, and Carol does Grandparents Group in Lake County. I do in Newaygo. I have a facilitator come in once a month, and he is also a grandparent raising grandkids. He writes for The Indicator, our paper in Newaygo County and stuff like that, and he will also bring in people. He just had people from the courts come in with custody and adoption and to get all that information, because that seems to be where our parents are at. They want a lot of legal information, so we try to gear more towards that. And then, of course, respite for them, because you got to take time for yourself and all that good stuff. And yes, you are looking at the daycare provider. So we also, when the parents go to go off and be parents, then we keep the kids in a separate area and they just get to play and have fun, and so that's great. Let's see. Oh, our group is growing, and Newaygo County is quite a big county, and we kind of meet more towards the northern end of the county, and we have parents come from all over. So we're debating on adding another group down towards the southern end of the county so that we at least don't have people traveling so far. So I don't know if that's good news, because that just means there's more grandparents out there raising grandkids, or, you know, that's kind of a catch-22. But that's kind of where we're going. So if you have any questions,
Hi, I'm Jan Wagner. Not only do I coordinate and facilitate the support group that we have in Mason County, I'm also a grandmother. I have a 6-year-old grandson. We've had him exclusively since he was 2. We've now filed for adoption. We have the father terminated, and we have another hearing coming up next Tuesday morning. Hopefully that will be the end. The mother doesn't ever show up for anything, so, and that is my daughter. So anyway, I started working with the support group as the facilitator just in January, when we lost Miss June, who had started it from the very beginning, 15, 16 years ago, whatever it. And she passed away, and torch got passed to me. Partially because I have the youngest child, had the youngest child in the group at the time. I was probably going to be around the longest. When I came into the group 4 years ago, I learned everything from everybody in that room. And that's the way our support group conducts itself. I mean, it's really not like there's anybody that has the ball in their court. We all help each other. It's strictly supportive to each member. Somebody has to go to court. They want somebody sitting beside them. You better believe that there's going to be 1 or 2 members of the group sitting beside them. If we are struggling with schools, if we're struggling with finances, we live in an area that resources are pretty tight. Mason County is not what you would call an extremely philanthropic area for situations that we're in. I mean, it just doesn't seem to be. So we have our own fundraisers. We do pictures with Santa Claus for a little money, which is now, with the price of everything else, costing us as much to do it as we could make in a profit. We do seek out some donations. Miss June used to go door to door to door to door. That's a little more difficult for me. I have to work on that part of knocking on doors and asking with my coffee can in my hand for money for the grandparents group. But, you know, we found a grant. We got that. And we've also been able to take a few members down to MAFAC's conference in Lansing this year, which, as Judy touched on, there was a lot of trauma training going on with that. So we do a lot of researching. I think because the group had been together so long, everybody knew everybody's story up to a point, and so we need to branch out. And the group had been very involved with the process of trying to get the bill passed to support grandparents that were raising their grandchildren. I've kind of taken that ball back up again, and the group is working on it too. We're trying to unite a lot of the support groups around the entire state of Michigan because it has to do with numbers. I mean, everybody wants to know, well, how many voters does that really mean before they really want to get involved. We get a lot of sympathy. We get a lot of yeses in an election year, and oh, I didn't know you people. Everybody just assumes that we're right there wrapped up with the foster system, getting all of the benefits. And when you explain to people that we don't get anything other than what you would qualify for being underneath the poverty level, they're shocked. So we need to bring about this awareness again. We all need to go out and we all need to talk everywhere. It's hard to bring grandparents out of their comfort zone. That video was very, very good about that. That there are so, for all of us that are in our group, and there's maybe 10 of us regular members, there's probably 2 to 3 times more families out there in just our county. But it's very difficult to expose yourself. It's very difficult to tell your story and have to admit that these children suffered this trauma. They suffered emotional issues, and you are now suffering financially, emotionally, and definitely physically for the energy and everything. And it was because of one of your children. And that's hard. So, you know, we put that aside and we say, whatever it takes in the best interest of the child is what we're going to do. It's not my best interest. It's not my daughter's best interest. It's all about the child. And that's what our group focuses on. We get together, we support each other, we bring in outside resources, and we ask, what do we want? But it is a grandparent-run support group. We're umbrellaed under the Area on Aging. It goes through the Scottville School District, but it's grandparent-run, and it's for grandparents or other relatives who are raising children. So, thank you.
I'm Ronna Shane, and I facilitate the group in Ionia County. I've been doing this, I would say, 10 years. I don't keep track of the time flies. The older you get, the faster it goes. The group originally started out with somebody else facilitating it, and they were using the manual, I think, that was created through Cooperative Extension. This next year I came in, and we did follow some of that, but as the group has evolved, we have brought in speakers, Friend of the Court, DHS, Cooperative Extension, budgeting, massage, a variety of topics. And at this point in our existence, we seem to have folks that are interested in doing crafts, which I don't talk about too loudly because that doesn't necessarily fit the criteria for a grandparent group, but this is what the women enjoy doing, and so that's what we do. And there's a lot of talking that goes on while we're doing different types of crafts. Usually the craft is something that the grandparent can teach to their grandchild, depending on the age, but I keep asking for, who would you like me to bring in? And, oh, let's do candles again, or so we're kind of following what the group really wants to do. I have found that it's difficult to recruit new people. I try to go through the schools and the secretaries at the schools because I figure that they know usually as much as anybody else, and perhaps have more time to informally talk with the grandparent who may be bringing the child in or something, and acquaint them with, hey, there is a group out there that you could come to and just relax. We do provide child care while we are meeting. We meet on a monthly basis, as do most groups. We have a snack usually, and a snack for the kids who meet upstairs. We're fortunate to be able to use the special ed facility in our county, and so there is a playroom that works very well for the kids while we're meeting downstairs. It's a very informal group. I think everybody feels pretty comfortable and are able to bring anything to the table that is on their mind. We have not taken the political. That doesn't seem to be of interest to our group at this point, but certainly all the grandparents are wanting to welcome other folks who are going through the same kind of thing that they are. Is there anything, Carmen, that... Okay. Any questions?
Could I just say that the way you described your group and talked about doing the crafts while you sit around and talk reminds me very much of play therapy. When you work with very young kids, who will often be able to engage them in conversation that we would not be able to engage them in had we not been playing at the same time. So I think the idea is wonderful. I feel that people will get comfortable very quickly and be able to share.
I think they do that. Plus, from a practical standpoint, some of them can't do those kinds of things in their particular home situation. There's not a block of time that they're free to do that. So it serves several purposes, I think.
Okay, I'm Daniel Gross, and I'm with the Grand Rapids or Kent County group. I'm a co-facilitator. Dr. Holstege was my partner for years until his recent retirement from being involved, and also Mike and I co-facilitated the group. One of the good things is that administratively we have Mike takes care of everything, and so we do not have to concern ourselves with trying to do many of the day-to-day kinds of activities that would need to occur for a group to remain effective. Our group consists mainly of women, African American women. However, we do have persons from other ethnic groups join in, and but the primary numbers are with women of African American descent. It's been an interesting group. The age range of our group, our oldest member was 93, and she was parenting a great-grandchild who was developmentally disabled, which I thought was rather amazing. Her developmental disabled grandchild is so attached to the group, she likes to continue to come because we don't have child care. And I believe our youngest is probably in their 40s. We've dealt with a range of problems, and many of the things that Dr. Holstege mentioned regarding the kind of resource of the persons coming are those persons who have attended our groups and made presentations. Generally what we do is that we start with an hour of educational kinds of material, and then we shift to the support aspect in terms of more of a group meeting whereby people are able to share the issues they have or the concerns they have. What I have found to be quite interesting, and that is the whole issue of shame surrounding having to take care of a child or grandchildren because of some of the missteps of a person's children. You know, it's kind of like getting a divorce. If your spouse dies, it makes moving on easier because that's a legitimate reason. But if it's for falling out of love, that's not legit in our society. And so, you know, as parents, we're supposed to be able to take care of our children. We're supposed to be able to raise them properly. And I think what Dr. Holstege said is so appropriate, and that is our children make choices that we don't always agree with. And consequently, because of the choices they make, we end up being in the role of grandparents raising grandchildren. One of the other kinds of things that I have found interesting in terms of the group process, our group has changed somewhat at this particular point because my wife has joined as a co-facilitator. And quite often I would go home and she said, "How is that two men are trying to tell the women how to raise children?" I said, it's quite easy. We just tell them what to do. But you know, I guess one of the things that I see occurring sometimes in the group, and that is misinformation on the part of some grandparents. And sometimes it's necessary to have to correct or to redirect them in terms of what it is they're saying or the validity of what it is they're saying. And sometimes that can be difficult because, again, not wanting to publicly embarrass anybody, but also to have them continue as a valued group member. You know, everyone doesn't always know what's right, and I had to put the "what's right" in quotations because my wife was telling me that the only thing normal is what's on the washing machine. But you know, we always think about what's normal and this kind of thing, and you know, when we deal with human beings, normal is a rather elusive term, simply because of the range of people and the kinds of things that happen. And so, with our group, we spend you know, a great deal of time dealing with some of the issues that the grandparents have: addiction, incarceration. And the one thing that sometimes folk don't talk about, and that is we have some grandparents who are afraid of their grandchildren. We have grandparents who are afraid of their, not only are the grandparents, but the parents are also. And so, and that's one of the kinds of things we attempt to offer support and to provide them or share with them possible resources out there that can be of assistance to them. We're fortunate in Kent County that we have a number of resources, and we share with them the Children's Resource Guide or Family and Child Resource Guide that has all the agencies within the county that provides services and the various kinds of services available. So with that, I'll move on.
Thank you.
My name is Mandy McGregor. I co-facilitate with Sharon Briggs, and I, out of Life Guidances, or it's now Cherry Street Health Services. We run a program called Grandparents Raising Grandchildren, and it was an alumni group. I wear two hats in this because I am also a grandparent raising a grandchild. My granddaughter now is 17 years of age. I've had her since birth. With just about 6 months of her life, she was gone out of our house. And I've had her legally since she was 2.5 years of age. I went to a doctor's appointment with my granddaughter, and I was in tears. I didn't know what to do with her. I don't have any medical rights. They dumped her on my front porch and said, here she is. And I knew she had to go to the doctor. I knew things had to be taken care of. I went down, I made a doctor's appointment. I went to the doctor's office, and the doctor looked at me and he said, lady, you need help. And I said, that's right. A social worker came in and sat down with me and talked to me about a program at Life Guidance way back when. This was many, many years ago. I called them up. I went in, and at that particular time, my husband was working out of town. He would come home on weekends. So it was I by myself. I took a leave of absence from my job because I now had a small child to take care of. I went to Life Guidances. I was introduced to a wonderful lady there, Wilmina Wright, and I joined the grandparents group. At that time, they had a program where you went for 6 weeks in a row. You met in the evening, you brought your grandchild. As a group, you had a meal, and then they took the grandchildren, and they always had something educational for the grandparents. Wonderful program. After 6 weeks, you graduated. Then they developed a support group. That's what we have left now, is our support group. I have belonged to this group, like I say, for 12 years. I wouldn't know what to do without it. The gal that was helping Sharon before stepped down and wanted someone else to help. I wanted to belong to it and to keep it going because there is such a great need out there. We meet on the Teen Monday of every month. For instance, this month it's May 14th. We meet from 6 to 8 p.m. at St. Andrew's Church on 3 Mile. They are kind enough to give us the meeting room free of charge. The church requires that my daycare people have to be over the age of 18 and that I have to have 2 daycare people. So I have 2 daycare people, childcare rather, who come in, take the kids in a play area, and we meet in a separate part of the building. We meet for 2 hours. We try to have it 1 hour of educational, and if I have a speaker come in, the speaker will come, do their thing, and then afterwards we kind of talk amongst each other. Any problems that have come up, anybody that needs any help, anybody that needs any advice, we try to talk it over amongst each other. For instance, this month I'm going to give us a push because in the month of May, I'm showing a movie that I understand is going through the public schools, and it's called Courageous. And so I'm showing this movie. It's a 2-hour movie, and I understand about integrity. And it's going to be for my grandparents. And because the group I belong to, we have teenagers, we have teenage issues, and I understand that this is a very good movie for teenagers and middle schoolers, so I am inviting them to also watch the movie with us. But we have done programs in the past. We've had guest speakers come in and talk about elder health, elder exercising. I've had someone come in and for organizational skills, because as we get older, we've got medical bills, we've got this child's doctor's appointment, we've got this appointment, that appointment, and just keeping track of everything. So we had one on organization. Sharon did one 2 months ago in regarding parenting wisely. We did it for the older kids, and we're going to have a second part to that on doing it for the younger kids. I've noticed because of the grandparents, they're going through a grief process too. The grief process of losing things, of losing their adult child, not just through death. So I had a grief counselor come in, and she gave a 2-hour presentation, and she was so good that in the spring she gave her presentation. I was asked if she could come back in the fall for a follow-up. And she did a really good job with my grandparents. I've had people from the court system come. I recently wanted to have somebody come in again from Social Security, but in Kent County they no longer come to groups to speak anymore because of funding. So I try once a year to pass out a survey to find out what my grandparents need to know about, whether it's health issues, and I believe very strongly that in order for us to take care of our grandkids, we have to take care of ourselves first. So we have to get out there and we have to exercise, we have to eat right, we have to go to our doctor's appointments, we gotta take our medication, you know, and we gotta have our relaxation, whatever it is. So I've been trying to focus on that a little bit, because in our group, we're all getting older and medical issues are coming up. And we have grandparents that have had surgery on their feet, on their knee replacements, on hip replacements, or they have children with special needs. So try to get them some information. But you know, if we sit around, and if I have a speaker for next month and we sit around and decide that we have another issue that's bigger, we try to work around that so it's interesting and they want to come back. We have a core group of about 20 grandparents. We meet in the evening. We provide child care. In September, we have a picnic out at the park. We celebrate Grandparents' Day. And then in December, we have a Christmas potluck. Last year, I tried in the month of June, we had a game night, which we kept the kids with us, and we brought a board game and had snacks, so everybody was all together, because, again, showing these children that they are not alone. Like the words of my granddaughter, she says, you know, it's rough being raised by old people. And I said, yeah, I know, but you know what? I'm old, but I've been around the block once already, so I know a little bit, you know. But, and as far as recruiting new people, I have to coordinate my schedule with the church schedule, because the church gives us a free meeting room. So in the beginning of the year, I meet with the church secretary, and we make up a schedule on which days will work out. And when we get a flyer made, I sit down with the old phone book or get on the old internet, send it to all the daycare centers, all the counseling services, anybody that I can think would come up with, that have a grandparent raising a grandchild. Also, at Life Guidance or Cherry Street Health Services, I have a hotline that people call. I try to check the hotline at least 3 times a week, and if I can get a hold of the name, I will give them a call. I give them a personal invite. I send them out a schedule. Like I said, our meeting is this Monday night. This afternoon or tomorrow, I will go home and I make a phone call and talk to each one of my grandparents to remind them of our meeting Monday night. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our panel's not excused yet. I've got one more question, but I have to set the stage first. You know, why is it we're doing this event today? Why did we invite representatives from Aging Service Network agencies and also the school system? Because we need your help. We need your help. One of the things I hope you're hearing is how desperately in need these grandparents are and how often they're very, very isolated. Just like it's very, very similar to other types of family caregivers. Family caregivers sometimes feel so overburdened, so overwhelmed, they don't even know where to start for help, and they often won't seek help, and they tend to isolate themselves, and it becomes this downward spiral, which is not a positive thing. We need those of you who are out in the community, in these agencies, and in these schools to help us identify these families and get them to these types of groups, because the best way, I think, to intervene in the lives of these grandparents is peer-to-peer. And the way we do it is in these groups, because that's where we can have the greatest influence and we can help them, I think, the most. So we need your help as community partners to refer to these groups. So one of the handouts you received today was on a cherry-colored paper, and it lists all of the 5 counties represented here today and these individuals up front as contact people. So if you have anyone in any of these counties who you suspect is a grandparent raising grandchildren, and we sometimes use that term loosely. Not all the grandparents in our groups necessarily have the grandchildren living with them. Many grandparents are actively engaged in the lives of their grandchildren, but their grandchildren don't necessarily live with them. But they're intervening in many ways, whether it's the latchkey kid piece, after school, before school, or if it's just they're having to have an active presence in their life to maintain some stability in their grandchildren's lives. So these grandparents need to be identified, and they need to get out to us so that we can bring them into these groups. Because unfortunately in our communities, and you're going to find different levels of services in different communities, the more rural communities have less to offer. Here in Kent County, we have a little bit more service-rich county, but even in a service-rich county, these services are complex, and many of the services, especially that serve our grandparents who are struggling with these issues and sometimes also poverty issues, are dehumanizing. And they're very difficult to access, and it's a very dehumanizing process. And so they really need the support of their peers and groups like this to not only direct them, but to hold their hand and help them through the process. Unfortunately, there's not just an agency that you can call that's just for grandparents, and that's what they do. So this is the best front door. These groups are the best front door into the services and supports that grandparents need to do this work. So that's why we gave you that information. So setting that up, my question to the panel is, panel, you have a captive audience. Unfortunately, it's not more people here today. That's the sad news. So we're going to depend on you to get the word out to those who weren't here. But those of you who represent these support groups, can you just think for a moment about what is it you want to ask of our community? What is it that's still needed in our communities, in the aging service network or in the school systems, to better address the needs of the grandparents in your group? Kind of it's your wish list. What would it be that you'd hope could happen? Who wants to start? Anyone prepared? I know it's a big question. Okay, Jan.
I think I hear in our support group a lot, and of course there's all the very, very important basic needs that all of us as grandparents have. You know, the isolation, the need for somebody to step in and say, I'll take the kid for a couple hours, for a day, whatever. One thing our children are lacking is grandparents, because their grandparents have to be the boss. They can't spoil them. I have 5 other grandchildren all living close by, and I can't be grandma to them because I'm also raising one of my own, and I'm as tired and more overwhelmed as their parents are. I hear respite a lot. But the other thing I do hear is that we have to take care of ourselves before we can take care of these children. That's an impossible task under most normal days. I can't tell you the last time I just walked out that door without a backpack, without a car seat, without a child or anything else. I can't tell you when I went to the store and bought something for me, even if it was a CD, or that I actually didn't wait until my hair was to the point where I couldn't look at it anymore before I went and got it cut. Physically, getting time to get to a doctor, being able to afford the medication or the therapy that those physicians have prescribed for us. I don't know whether you would wrap this up into respite or whether you would just wrap it up into somebody be nice to me for today. And I think I would, if the community would step forward and say, here, you grandparents really put yourselves out there, take today. You and Grandpa can have dinner together, you can see a movie, whatever. We will handle the children. We'll give you that day of rest or respite or pampering or anything else that you need. But that's a community service that we can't ask for. It's so hard. We don't know how to say, I just want somebody to do my hair, or I just want to go to a movie and I can't afford it. If they would just step forward and say, here, guys, go to the movie.
Who's next?
I can say, like I said before, with our grandparents group, legal is, they have a lot of legal questions. They're wondering foster care, custody, you know, adoption, what's best and all that. I would like to see maybe some of our lawyers in the area, some of our, you know, attorneys maybe donating some time or some, you know, because adoptions are expensive, custody battles are expensive, to donate that kind of time to, and they need the advice. They need to know what to do. There's so many steps, and it's just so, what you go through and the mountains of paperwork and all that. I would like to see that maybe our attorneys would step in and say, you know what, for you, I'm going to do this. I will give you $1,000 worth of services. From then, you might have to pay, but here, this first 1,000 covered. Let's get going. Let's start.
So, that's a good idea.
Excellent.
Anyone else?
I'm just going to touch briefly a little bit on education. The school systems. Recognize that each child does not come from a home that has a mother and a father, that has grandparents at home. Do you know when they're little how hard it is for Mother's Day and Father's Day, and when they have to go to school and they draw the picture of that family? My granddaughter drew a picture of a mother, a father, 2 children, and a cat and a dog. Now, isn't that the wonderful family? That wasn't our family, but it was somebody's family. But recognize this. Recognize this, that this child is being raised by older people who are not on Facebook, who do not know the internet that well, who do not want their child to take online classes because the child has a learning disability. Speak to us. Don't try to email us all the time or try all this technology, because some of us, I work with some people that don't have the technology. They don't know the difference between a smartphone and iPad. They don't know. They don't know Facebook. They don't know this stuff. Think about the child. Just think about that. After working, you know, I was lucky enough because I was an advocate for my granddaughter. You know, I was the one that went to school. I was the one that went to the conferences. I was the one that sat down to the teacher and said, you know, we've got a problem. You know, if education, if teachers would recognize this, you know, that would be a great help. When they get older, too, you know, I know we talked about in the school system and in the counselors, you know, I know that they're underworked and they're overpaid, but these kids are our future. You know, I don't want to go into a nursing home and have someone take care of me and they can't read the directions, or they're supposed to give me 50 milligrams and they're giving me 500, you know? I don't want that. I want them to be educated well, whatever field they want to go into. You know, thank you.
Well, I guess I would have to say ditto to all of that, but I also think access to the various kinds of services that are out there that grandparents are in need of, things like when they have children who have substance abuse problems, where they don't have to go through the gatekeepers and jump through a lot of hoops to get the kind of service they need to take care of them. I think, too, that our politicians need to be more in tune with what's going on in terms of grandparents, that they should, well, I had an interesting thing happen. I'm on the Foster Care Review Board for Kent County, and we had a legislators' day. And we had one state legislator who walked into the meeting. He said, "What is foster care?" Now, I was somewhat amazed, and I wonder how many of them are aware that we have the kind of problem we have in terms of grandparents raising grandchildren, in terms of them putting forth some kind of programs to help grandparents who are in need. Grandparents are saving the state a whole lot of money by keeping children out of foster care. And I think there need to be some appreciation for that kind of service.
Okay, I think this is all good. Now what we're going to do is let's do some question and answer. And it looks like you have a question.